Chapter 51 Sees Messiahs. January 2010. Everybody gathered in the dormitory command room for the last time. Mitsuru sighed as the entire team wore the same solemn look on their faces.
"All right,"
she said, standing up.
"This will probably be the last time we meet like this. Is everyone ready?"
Yukari from.
Can I say something?"
Mitsuru nodded to her as the archer stood from her seat.
"I know that we have to defeat Nyx. But if you think about it, that means we'll be getting rid of the Dark Hour. Ryoji-kun said before that if he dies, our memories will disappear too. So if we defeat Nyx, we might not remember any of this. Our memories."
Fuka worriedly frowned.
"True."
Mitsuru nodded.
"Our memories regarding the Dark Hour and our personas. They may disappear."
She saw Akihiko looking towards her with sad worry in his eyes.
"But even if that happens,"
Yukari shook her head.
"I want you all to know I won't forget you.
She clenched her fists and smiled at her friends.
Even if it robs us of all our memories together, I will still remember you all."
Junpei laughed at the brunette.
"We know you will, Yuka-tan. No need to worry about that."
Hamuko brightly exclaimed.
"On these headphones, I absolutely refuse to forget."
Minato firmly nodded.
"I won't forget you, either,"
Fuka cried.
"Neither will I."
Ken smirked.
"I will not forget you, Yukari-san,"
Aiga stated with determination.
"Don't worry."
Mitsuru smiled at the archer.
"Even if you do forget about us, I'll remind you." "Yay."
Akihiko chuckled.
"So don't worry about it." "Oh, I'm so glad to hear that."
Yukari sighed in relief.
"Okay."
Junpei jumped up.
"Then, after the battle, no matter what happens, let's promise to meet each other again." "Good idea."
Ken brightened at the suggestion.
"But where should we meet?" "I don't think it should be the dorm."
Fuka shook her head.
"We'll come back here anyways if all goes well."
She blinked as something else came to mind.
"Hey, shouldn't we also decide on when we'll meet?" "Yeah."
Akihiko nodded.
"It should be a special day." "What about graduation day?"
Yukari suggested.
"When the Dark Hour vanishes, our memories might not disappear right away. So we shouldn't plan to meet too soon after the battle. And there's no day that will have more significance to us all." "What?"
Ken stared at the brunette.
"You're really smart, Yukari-san. Graduation day."
He nodded in agreement.
"Yes, that will be easy to remember." "Yeah, that's probably our best bet."
Junpei smirked.
"Graduation day it is."
He scratched his head nervously.
"Now, where should we meet?" "It should be somewhere where it's easy to recognize that peace has returned to the city."
Mitsuru considered.
"Someplace with a good view, then?"
Ken blinked. Fuka immediately came up with a suggestion.
"Oh, how about the school's roof?" "Ooh, good idea."
Junpei nodded.
"All right, the roof it is." "And when we meet again,"
Mitsuru proudly smiled,
"we should remember how we're feeling right now. That no matter what may happen, we will never look back." "I agree."
Yukari nodded. Koromaru impatiently barked, causing Mitsuru to laugh.
"Sorry,"
she told the loyal dog.
"but you'll just have to wait." "All right then, let's get going." "Let's go, everyone."
Hamuko raised her nagi up. Minato lifted his blade and rested it on his shoulder.
"Let's do this like always."
He nodded to their team.
"Yeah."
Yukari smiled.
"Together."
Fuka nodded as she stood up.
I will do my best.
Aga saluted their leaders.
Good, 'cause I'm counting on ya.
Junpei smirked at the blonde robot. Akihiko lightly pounded his fists together.
This is going to be easy. Yes, it is.
Mitsuru nodded in agreement. Jin looked away from the staircase he was defending and frowned at C's as they finally arrived.
So, you came after all. You.
Akihiko narrowed his eyes on the hermit.
Where's your partner? Takari went on ahead of me.
Jin nodded towards the stairs.
He's destined for greater things.
He studied the resolve expressions on their faces.
So, it looks like you're serious about fighting Nyx. How do you know about Nyx?
Fuka asked.
You hacked into Ikitsuki's files too, didn't you?
Jin impressively smirked at the teal-haired girl.
Not a lot of it made sense, but I managed to piece together the information he left behind.
The blue-haired boy shook his head.
He was a real nutjob. Did you know Ikitsuki?
Yukari asked him.
We were surprised to find out he was your boss.
The Strega member shrugged.
We really only knew his name. He was just one of the researchers who created us. He created you?
Mitsuru blinked at him in surprise. She looked over towards Minato and Fuka to see if they had managed to find any evidence of the sort, but both juniors only frowned.
Who are you?
Fuka shook her head at Jin.
Anne.
The glasses-wearing boy sneered at them.
There's no use in telling you. The end is near. We don't have time for this.
Mitsuru raised her rapier.
Get out of our way. Can't do that, little lady.
Jin pulled a bomb from his pocket.
There's no way you'll be able to stop Nyx. But I can't let you interfere with Takari's wish. Do you even understand what you're saying?
Yukari cried.
If Nyx isn't stopped, all life will be destroyed. Exactly.
He nodded.
We won't live much longer. And we want to see the end before we die. That is Takari's wish. So I'm not backing down. But
Fuka sadly frowned at him.
Enough talk.
Jin shook his head, not wanting her sympathy. He looked over towards Minato and saw the blue-haired swordsman already in his battle stance.
Let's do this.
Minato wordlessly agreed as he darted straight towards him.
Let's go. Team! This is it.
Jin braced himself for the younger boy's sword.
I ain't holding back.
As soon as Minato was close enough, he tossed a smokescreen. The cover confused the swordsman as well as his nearby teammates, and Jin quickly used the chance to beeline straight towards Mitsuru and Fuka.
I've improved since our last fight. You can't hide your weaknesses from me.
Yukari sensed him rushing past her, so quickly brought up her evoker.
Guardian.
She missed the tricky bomb specialist but managed to dispel the smoke, leaving him in the open. Junpei spotted him and swung his katana at him.
Take this.
Jin jumped back and tossed the hand grenade towards Mitsuru, hoping to strike her weakness, but Koromaru quickly knocked the explosive aside.
Dammit. Artemisia.
Mitsuru fired her evoker and cast Bufadine. Jin was knocked back by the powerful ice spell, but he quickly got up.
Ditch, you think you're tough. I won't lose this time.
When everyone was gathered around him, he focused Moriza's power.
Megiddo. Mark you Codger.
Igas boosted everyone's defenses in time as Hamuko brought her Naginata up to block the attack. The co-leader smirked at how weak the almighty spell was.
Really? That's nothing compared to this.
She fired her evoker to cast her own version of the spell.
Lucifer.
Jin let out an agonized cry as he was knocked down again.
No. I ain't finished yet. Come on.
He called Moriz again as Ken tried to skewer him with his spear.
Ken, get back.
Akihiko frowned as the air staled. Minato tackled into the younger boy as Morris began exhaling a purple mist.
Hold your breath,
he directed the child, but soon the older boy began coughing as he inhaled some of the noxious gas. Jin smirked as he cast Swift Strike.
I've got you now.
He flinched when Minato unexpectedly parried his Persona's attack, reflecting it back towards him. The sickly swordsman dropped to his knee as the poison ate away his health.
What else you got?
He smirked through the pain.
Damn it.
Jin scowled at him before trying to toss a bomb in Minato's direction. Hamuko quickly knocked the explosive back towards Jin and brought the blade of her Nagi-no up.
Nice try, Jin, but there's no way you could have ever defeated us alone.
She sliced her weapon downward and watched as the blue-haired young man fall to the ground.
Oh.
He blankly stared up at the ceiling.
I failed.
Minato slowly rose to his feet and tossed away an empty antidote bottle.
Good work, everyone.
He nodded to his team. He frowned at the hermit as he stood over the downed boy. Jin frowned at him.
What are you waiting for? Finish me off. I would do anything for Takari.
Akihiko shook his head.
Why are you so loyal to him? You wouldn't understand.
The Strigan member smirked.
Takara showed me the light when I was in the darkness.
His eyes glowed as he recalled his past.
It was a long time ago. In order to better understand the Dark Hour, Kirijo rounded up kids that were living on the streets and gave them special powers, so they could investigate Tartarus. What?
Mitsuru frowned in light of the new information.
But when that power doesn't emerge naturally, it's difficult to control.
Jin continued.
So the kids had to take experimental medications so their powers wouldn't kill them. Only 3 kids out of the original 100 survived, and after 6 months, the experiment was cancelled. Then
Fuke sadly frowned at him.
Those 3 were.
Mitsuru shook her head.
You all suffered at the hands of Kirijo. And you both thought I was the same, didn't you?
Minato frowned and Jin smirked at him.
Well, I'm not. I guess I'm not that different, but I'm not the same either. Takari's views are too different from my own. I could never acknowledge his ideals. Well, Takari saved me from it all.
Jin shook his head at him.
He said, don't let the past control you, and don't look to the future. Simply live in the moment.
He let out a wry laugh as he saw Minato's frown deepen.
To be honest, I don't even care about Kirijo anymore. But Takari's wish must be fulfilled.
Hikari looked away from him.
You.
Akihiko tensed up when he heard growls coming from the staircase behind them.
Titch, we were here too long. We're running out of time.
Mitsuru narrowed her eyes.
We have to go. But
Junpei furrowed his brows on the hurt boy on the ground.
We can. You idiot.
Jin snapped at them.
I don't want your pity.
Mitsuru stared at him for a while longer before making the difficult decision to go on ahead. Ken frowned at the ground as Koromaru whimpered. The 2 quickly went after her, much to Fuka's surprise. The teal-haired girl turned towards the quiet Minato.
Viva.
Akihiko shook his head at her.
No hesitation. If we don't defeat Nyx, then this was all for nothing. All right.
Yukari dragged her feet. Junpei pulled his cap down as he too followed suit.
Damn it.
Hamuko pulled on Minato's arm.
Let's go,
she told him. He numbly nodded and picked up his sword.
Fuck. Yeah.
The teal-haired girl hung her head as she followed after him. Aigis was the last to move as she continued to stare at Jin. Akihiko called out to her.
Aigis.
The robot lifted her gaze towards the boxer.
It's time to go.
She reluctantly joined the others, leaving Jin alone. The defeated blue-haired boy shook his head.
Look at all of them, crawling out with those nasty faces.
He smirked as he sensed the shadows crawling towards him.
And I won't let you eat me.
He lifted his head to look at the staircase leading up.
I believe in you, Takarya. Fulfill your wish. I will hold on to the freedom you gave me to the very end.
He reached into his pocket for his last grenade and pulled the pin.
This is how struggle lives,
he said with a smirk. Minato clenched his fists as the ground shook due to an explosion beneath them. Fuka clung to him as she sensed Jin's presence fade away. Everyone else mildly turned towards the stairs in surprise. Junpei frowned.
Was that?
He started back for the lower floor.
Did he?
Akihiko blocked his path.
Don't look.
He sharply scolded the junior as he frowned at the floor. Mitsuru grabbed her own arm.
Let's go.
Minato let out a heavy sigh as Takaya lifted his gaze towards him.
Takarya.
He tilted his head forward and glared at the shirtless boy.
You've arrived at last, Minato Yuki.
Takaya smirked at him.
Is the top of Tartarus Pass here?
Akihiko asked.
Indeed.
The lone Striga member nodded.
Then, let us through.
The boxer glared at him.
I am not standing in your way.
Takarya shook his head.
I take it you have defeated Jin?
He said with a frown.
You are quite troublesome. What is it that you seek?
He asked Minato.
We want to live.
The blue-haired swordsman calmly stated.
That's an impossible wish.
The shirtless young man sighed.
These are your final moments. The end is nigh. Sorry.
Akihiko smirked.
But we're not gonna let that happen. You are merely wasting your energy.
Takarya smirked.
Why not celebrate this wonderful moment? What better way could you spend your final moments together? Will you shut up already?
Hikari vehemently glared at him.
My life was stolen from me.
Takarya snapped at her.
And in its place, I was given a power I never asked for.
He noticed Minato tense up at that.
And so, I learned that the future is only a delusion. Only by striving to live every moment to its fullest can the soul truly be satisfied. That is why we welcome this glorious revelation, to shine a light upon this darkened world. You're so full of shit.
Junpei angrily cried out.
I'm not dying so you can have a friggin' nightlight. This is not merely my desire.
Takarya shook his head.
There are many who have also gathered to rejoice in her arrival. That's just because all these weird things have been happening.
Fuka stated.
That is untrue.
The wavy-haired boy coolly shut her down.
Who is responsible for reviving Nyx?
He asked.
Can a single person boast of this great accomplishment?
Aigus frowned as she noticed Hamuko trembling at Minato's side. Takarya didn't seem to notice them though as he continued his tirade.
You all worked tirelessly to prevent it, and yet in doing so, you unwittingly aided in her coming.
He arrogantly smirked at them.
So you see, this is not just my will. It is the will of all people. Men cannot face death without first finding meaning in life. But the world has realized that any meaning in life was lost long ago. Nyx has come because humanity has cried out for her salvation. That can't be.
Fuka refused to accept his words.
I don't believe you.
Ken angrily stated.
Who would ever wish for Nyx to come? And yet,
Aigus frowned.
There is truth in what he says. Aigus.
Hikari looked at the robot in confusion.
But now we know that it was a mistake.
Aigus stated in determination.
And that's why we're here. It's not a matter of whether it is possible or not. It's a matter of believing in ourselves. That's what it means to live.
Minato chuckled as he stared into Takaya's gold eyes.
To live a still life, never searching for one's purpose, going into a still death.
He frowned as he remembered how he used to live.
To avoid pain above all. The coward I was before really would have joined you, Takaya. But as for me standing before you right now, I wouldn't want to live that way.
He shook his head.
I want to live for a reason, and to live for others.
He turned his head to look back at his team.
We are not alone.
Mitsuru nodded.
What is impossible for one becomes feasible with the help of one's friends.
She smiled at Yukari and the others. The redhead cast Takaya a pitiful frown.
You lack such things. Thus, the coming demise appears as salvation to you. In choosing solitude over bonds with others, you are limited by your own abilities. We have no such limits. Yeah.
Hamuko smirked.
The world isn't so simple that one person can decide whether we all live or we all die. So, even if there is no hope, we won't give up because we still love each other. That's our meaning of life.
Takaya walked out in front of them and frowned at the red-eyed brunette.
Humph. What do you know of this world? No matter how long you search or how hard you pray, eventually you will realize that there is no truth.
The twins glared at him at this.
Just as death is eternal, a truth that has been lost can never be found again. Were you really so desperate to die that you will stand before the Almighty Nyx? If the truth is that we die no matter what we do, then it's best for us to stand for our beliefs.
Minato nodded.
No matter how difficult it is to face the truth and death, we won't look away.
Takaya stared at him in disbelief.
What utter foolishness. Well, you're in the presence of a team led by two fools.
Hamuko smirked.
Alone we might be zeros, but together we can go beyond infinity. Those who rush into battle where death is certain are denying the demise.
Takaya glared at the younger twin.
Do you understand that? I do.
Hamuko nodded.
But we have a track record of defying fate and believing in the future.
She turned her head towards her brother and smiled.
According to you, our lives were stolen from us too when death decided to live within us. But I don't think so. We were given new lives, one we will definitely share with those we have bonded with.
Her red eyes burned in determination.
That's our undeniable truth. Very well then.
Takaya sighed as it was useless to mince words with the difficult girl.
If you insist on proving the superiority of your way, I shall do the same. Fine.
Hamuko accepted his challenge.
Nisan, you leave him to me, right? He's really starting to piss me off.
Minato smirked at his younger sister.
Sorry, but if you really want to show him he's wrong, you'll need me in Thanatos. Then we'll do this together.
The brunette nodded.
Just like always. Everyone.
Minato looked towards their team.
Stand down. Leave this to us. What?
Yukari stared at their leaders in disbelief.
You can't fight him alone. What if it's a trick?
Ken asked.
Relax.
Minato told them.
We know what we're doing. We're going to show him proof of our bond. You've always believed in us before. This is no different. That's right.
Hamuko got into her battle stance.
Our bonds against Takaya's nihilistic solitude. There's no way we can fail.
Takaya stared at the twins as they stood before him.
Whatever the outcome, your actions are pointless.
He pulled out his revolver.
Nyx's advent is but moments away.
He laughed.
Sorry, but fate is ours to command.
Minato roared as he charged at the shirtless boy.
You needn't hurry.
Takaya shook his head as he dodged to the side.
The moment we await is predestined. It's only a matter of time. Fuka-chan. Back us up.
Hamuko spun her neck not expertly to deflect the shots Takaya fired towards her.
Please be careful. I sense even greater power than before. Well, he's still no Elizabeth.
Minato smirked.
Hamuko.
He raised his evoker up.
Thanatos.
Hamuko fired her evoker too, calling for their god of death.
It knows.
Takuya's gold eyes glowed in anticipation. Both personas grappled each other before Hypnos tried to lift the feral persona into the air. Thanatos let out a roar as he unsheathed his blade and stabbed it through the flying persona's body.
Easy, Thanatos.
Minato placed a hand over his heart.
You don't have to go too far.
Takuya winced as Hypnos was quickly dispelled.
So that is the true form of your Reaper. Yet you still refuse to acknowledge you are like me.
He glared at Minato.
He's not like you.
Hamuko scowled as she sliced at their opponent with her blade.
He can never be like you so long as I'm here with him. Then I'll get rid of you first.
The shirtless boy tried calling for Hypnos again.
Medallion. Morning Star.
Minato's blue eyes flashed.
Everyone, it's done.
Akihiko called out to the others as both spells collided. Junpei brought a hand up to his cap to prevent it from flying off his head.
Dude, they're really going at it.
Fuka frowned as she continued to monitor the twins.
Neither side is letting up. Wait, what's this?
She shivered as Juno sensed a powerful force beginning to stir on the floor above them.
Something's happening on the next floor. Minato-kun. Hamuko-chan.
Takuya picked himself up from the ground as he felt it too.
Even as I speak, I can feel it.
He chuckled.
The end of everything. I pity those who cannot see it for what it truly is. A blessing. Well, we pity those who can't see life for what it is.
Hamuko struggled to get up.
A miracle.
She didn't wait for Minato as she swapped personas.
Stand up, hun.
The protective angel appeared behind her and quickly charged into Takuya. The striker leader grunted as he couldn't block the attack.
We are mere mortals. We cannot change our fate.
He shook his head.
You would be foolish to deny.
He fired his revolver towards Minato, but frowned as a cloaked persona appeared to defend the downed boy.
Life is only temporary.
Minato smiled at Scathach's presence.
We know that better than anyone.
He sent his persona forward to cast Mabufudan.
But there is no reason to cut it short when a world of infinite possibility lies before us.
The twins cried out in frustration as both their personas charged into him.
Why can't you see that?
Takuya slammed into the ground and began laughing.
It seems we are destined to be in opposition.
He told the twins as they frowned at him.
How can you both summon such power, even in the face of death?
He shakily got back up and summoned Hypnos.
Because we want to live.
Hamuko told him again as she lifted her evoker again.
Dying is easy.
Minato sighed as he pressed the metal gun to the side of his head.
And living is difficult. But we still want to live.
They pulled their triggers and called for Thanatos again. The Reaper-like persona roared as he charged forth with his blade. He made short work of his mythological brother before setting his sights on Takuya. Thanatos lunged forward, aiming to behead the final member of Strega, only to stop short with his blade level at Takuya's throat. Takuya had been prepared for the blow, but when it never came, he felt his body give out from under him as he collapsed to the floor. Thanatos remained towering over him as the Strega leader looked towards the twins.
I have failed, haven't I? You put up a good fight.
Minato calmly told him as he lowered his Lucifer's blade.
But it looks like our truth was stronger than your truth.
Hamuko relaxed as she put down her Velvel Muruga.
We're sorry it had to end this way.
Takuya shook his head at the soft-hearted twins.
There is nothing more I can do. Nah. Kill me.
The twins tensed up at that. Thanatos patiently awaited their orders, eager to bring death to their opponent, but they couldn't find it within themselves to want to do so. Iga studied them for a moment before turning back to Takaya.
Are you scared?
She asked the defeated young man.
What a peculiar question.
The shirtless boy stared at her oddly.
You know nothing of death, if you think that it is something to fear. What do you mean?
The blonde frowned.
You fear it because you do not understand it. I will not explain to you any further.
Takaya shook his head. He bravely faced Thanatos.
Well, what are you waiting for? Finish me.
Hamuko and Minato looked to each other before recalling Thanatos. Minato sighed as he looked down on Takaya.
There's no honor in taking the life of someone who can't move.
Hamuko nodded in agreement.
We'll let you live to see if what you wish for comes true or not. Yeah.
Junpei smirked.
Lie there and repent for what you've done.
Takaya laughed at the strange leaders of seas.
You are all so odd.
He slowly closed his eyes to rest himself.
If you try anything else, we'll just stop you again.
Hamuko warned him.
But we still won't kill you.
Minato shrugged.
Deep down, we still might have some hope left for you. As I with you, Minato Yuki.
Takaya sighed.
Then we'll just see who falters first.
The blue-haired boy smirked.
You both really are alike.
The red-eyed brunette chuckled.
But the truths you both carry will always oppose each other. And now it's time for the ultimate test of the truth we've decided on.
Her brother nodded as he looked up towards the stairs.
Everyone. It's time.
They all gathered at the base of the staircase and looked up. Mitsuru smiled as she couldn't believe it. After a lifetime of always wondering what was at the top of Tartarus, she would finally be able to see for herself the tower's summit.
We're finally here. Up ahead is the top of Tartarus, the promised place Ryoji spoke of.
She searched the twins' expressions for signs of exhaustion, but as usual, they seemed ready.
Let's regroup for the final battle.
She nodded to them. Minato took slow, calm breaths as he adjusted himself to the thin air. He took a good look at the roof of Tartarus and thought it was rather empty. Of course, with the dark clouds billowing all around them, there wasn't much he could see. And there wasn't really anything waiting for them. Actually, he didn't really know what he was expecting, but whichever came their way, they'd be ready. Mitsuru stood at his side as she took in the moment.
We finally reached the top,
she proudly stated. Hikari cautiously glanced at their surroundings before lifting her gaze up.
Hey, look at the sky.
Fuka tensed up as the swirling energy from before grew even more intense.
Something's coming. Is it Nyx?
Akihiko prepared himself for battle. The navigator closed her eyes and frowned.
I can sense it even without my persona. This is the first time that's ever happened.
Hamuko and Minato winced as something flashed in front of them. The younger twin backed into her brother.
Minato. Can you feel that? The ultimate reap.
He gasped for air.
It's here.
The clouds parted as a large winged creature descended to the tower. Black wings were folded over the being's main body, and as they unfurled, they revealed a humanoid figure, standing over the team. All of these stared as its face resembled that of Ryoji Mochizuki's. Igas frowned.
You are Ryoji-kun.
Hikari shook her head.
That was my name for a time.
The figure spoke in a distorted voice similar to Minato's.
I didn't mind it. What's going on?
Mitsuru asked.
Wait, are you? I'm merely a harbinger of the fall, though it would be more correct to say that is what I once was.
It shook its head.
There is no longer a distinction to be made between Nyx and myself. So you're not Ryoji.
Hamuko sadly sighed.
But you're not Nyx either.
Minato shook his head.
I am Nyx's avatar.
The winged figure looked down on the twins.
You should have chosen to forget instead of facing me here.
It regretfully sighed.
Is that so?
Akihiko smirked.
Well, regardless, I don't regret my decision. I'll defeat you, no matter what you are.
Nick's avatar studied everyone's expressions and saw that they firmly held their ground.
I see.
And nodded.
Then, you must already know. What people fear most. What they try to ignore. That is what I am. We know that already,
Ken stated.
Yeah.
Akihiko frowned.
Everyone does. It's the one certainty for all living things.
Mitsuru nodded.
Then you must also understand that it is futile to resist.
Nick's avatar told them.
Will you still face me?
It asked.
There must be trembling in your hearts. Yeah, of course I'm scared.
Junpei gulped.
But who cares about that right now? I got too much to live for.
Yukari nodded in agreement.
I'm not gonna live in fear anymore. Being really alive means not turning away from death. So I won't turn and cower, not even to you. I will stop here.
Igus got into her battle stance.
Even if I must sacrifice myself to do so. I do this of my own choice. I see.
Nick's avatar seemed to smile before looking at the twins.
We'll show you our resolve to live.
Minato nodded to their final opponent.
Everyone, let's go.
Hamuko cried.
Minato. Hamuko.
The raven-haired figure stared at them.
Come to me.
He flapped his wings, whipping up a powerful gale around them. Fuka stood her ground as she sensed an upcoming attack.
Everyone, get ready.
She called out.
Nyx is preparing to attack. This is our last chance.
Mitsuru declared.
We can't afford to lose. Everyone.
Minato focused his sights on Nick's avatar.
Vokers at the ready.
Everyone quickly pulled out their guns.
Failure is not an option,
Hamuko reminded them. Fuka immediately began her scan of the enemy.
It's the full arcana.
Nick's avatar arrogantly smiled down upon the team.
The moment man devoured the fruit of knowledge, he sealed his faith. Entrusting his future to the gods, man clings to dim hope. Yes, the arcana is the means by which all is revealed.
Minato and Hamuko led the charge as they sliced at their opponent. Nick's avatar didn't retaliate though as the rest of the team bombarded it with attacks. Koromaru barked as he managed to knock the large figure down. Minato smirked as he called out to the team.
Everyone with me?
Hamuko leapt into the air.
It's time for the kiss of death.
They left the enemy reeling before she fired her evoker.
Susanoo!
Her persona quickly finished off the enemy's remaining health with Cod's hand. She paused as she noticed something strange.
Ah? Is that a persona card? That's the full arcana.
Minato frowned.
Just what is it doing?
Nick's avatar smiled as the drifting card turned into the Magician Arcana.
Attaining one's dream requires the stern will and unfailing determination. Nyx's arcana changed to the Magician?
Fuka cried out in surprise.
Be careful. Its properties have changed. Hold back on the fire attacks.
Minato called out to Junpei and Koromaru as he ducked the burning inferno aimed at him.
Right.
The resident magician nodded as he slashed at Nick's avatar with his katana.
Time to shake things up a bit.
Junpei smirked as he summoned Trismegistus.
Turret.
Hamuko and Minato called for the fire giant. Both personas cast Deathbound, forcing their enemy to summon another persona card.
The silent voice within one's heart whispers the most profound wisdom.
Nick's avatar softly muttered.
It changed properties again. If you need me to analyze it, just say the word. Priestess this time.
Minato frowned.
Fuka, what element is it specializing in? Ice.
She told him.
So avoid using Bufu skills. Hamukar.
The blue-haired boy dodged the Mabifudine, targeting the entire team.
On it.
The brunette fired her evoker.
Kuchulin. Scathach. Fusion spell. Shadowhound. Celebrate Lysker Endure.
The Empress Arcana appeared before them.
Its brilliance. Its magnificence.
Nyx's avatar flapped its wings again as it cast Mogardine. As soon as the twins regained their footing, they lifted their evokers.
Alalat.
They cried as they cast Mabifudine. Mitsuru's eyes flashed as she called for Artemisia to use the same spell.
This ends now. It's shifting to the Emperor.
Fuka warned them.
Only courage in the face of doubt can lead one to the answer.
Nyx's avatar smiled. Akihiko smirked at that.
I'll show you my courage. Caesar.
The kingly persona quickly cast Elect Break. Minato roared as he called for Odin.
Thunder Rain.
Hamuko took advantage of the after effects of her brother's attack and cast Primal Force.
Ella.
The powerful Pierce attack knocked Nyx's avatar to the ground.
I've been waiting for this.
The boxer smirked as everyone got into position.
Okay, nah.
Nyx's avatar slowly got back up from the team's violent assault.
It is indeed a precious gift to understand the forces that guide oneself.
It waved its arm to cast Revolution before quickly swiping its arm at Ken. The brunette winced as he was knocked to the ground. Fuka shook her head and cried out to the team.
It's preparing to use Vile Assault. Someone help Ken-kun. Koryu.
Minato summoned the great dragon and took the blow.
Sandopan.
Hamuko quickly healed Ken as Akihiko fired his evoker.
Sardine.
Akihiko fired his evoker. Minato and Hamuko smirked to each other as they stabbed their weapons into their enemy. The blue-haired boy chuckled.
As Shinjuni would say. Adios, asshole.
The brunette pulled her Nekinata back. Nyx's avatar sadly smiled at the red-eyed girl as it changed its arcana again.
There is both joy and wonder in coming to understand another.
It cast a spell over the entire team and watched as half of Seas began to panic. Hikari shook her head to clear her fears as she quickly pressed her evoker against her forehead.
I swear on my life,
she cried as Isis emerged behind her to cast Mupatter.
Cybele.
Hamuko and Minato smirked as they cast Megadola.
Next is Chariot. One of life's greatest blessings is the freedom to pursue one's goals.
Nyx's avatar nodded to Aegis as it began power charging. Once it was ready, it prepared to use Akashats. The blonde robot braced herself as she called for Pallas Athena.
This is my duty,
she stated as she boosted the team's defense.
Thur.
Minato called for the chariot persona to cast Zardane.
Megidolon.
Hamuko smirked as Metatron appeared. Nyx's avatar shook off the explosion as best it could before continuing.
To find the one true path, one must seek guidance amidst uncertainty.
The ground glowed in bright light as it used Mahamon. Ken frowned as he and the twins pushed everyone aside.
Watch out!
He flinched a bit when the entire field flashed, but he was unaffected by the spell. The brunette lifted his head as he pointed his evoker to his chest.
It's time to get serious.
Kalanemi appeared from him and cast Zardane.
Keep it up.
Hamuko encouraged him with a smile as she and her brother called for Melchizedek.
God's hand.
Minato raised his fist into the air. Nyx's avatar shook its head.
It requires great courage to look at oneself honestly, and forge one's own path.
With a wave of its arm, it quickly cast 2 spells and waited for their attacks.
It's the Hermit Arcana. Be careful. It set up reflective barriers for both physical and magical attacks.
Fuka frowned. Minato and Hamuko smirked.
Arabaki.
They used Fish's strike and watched as their attack bounced back at them. Their persona stood tall though, as it wasn't phased at all.
This is how we live.
Hamuko cried out as she led the charge for the team.
Attack!
The blue-haired leader cried as he charged forth with his sword out. He was flung back by the Nyx avatar, but he nimbly landed on his feet as he noticed another arcana shift.
Alongside time exists fate.
Their opponent reminded them.
The bearer of cruelty.
Flames erupted from the ground as around the team as Nyx avatar barraged them with spells of every element. Fuka winced as everyone around her was knocked down to the ground.
It's blocking every element. Please use only physical attacks. Doing that would be resigning myself to fate.
Hamuko smirked as she got back up.
Yukari, windbreak, please.
When the archer did as she asked, the co-leader lifted up her evoker.
Pata Ray.
Norn appeared before her and tore through Nyx avatar with the violent gust. Minato rushed towards Nyx avatar.
Time and fate may be cruel.
A shadow of Thanatos faintly emerged from the blue-head swordsman, but he quickly reined in the terrifying beast power before catching the breeze of Hamuko's spell. He jumped into the air and raised his sword above his head.
But you and I both know that they are also beautiful. Ryoji!
He brought his sword down on Nyx avatar's body. The winged figure shook his head at him.
Only with strength can one endure suffering and torment. And I'm telling you we have that strength.
Minato frowned as he and Hamuko called for Siegfried. However, their attack didn't seem to affect as they sensed their defenses weaken. Koromaru howled as he called for his own persona. Cerberus quickly raised everyone's agility, allowing the team to evade Nyx avatar's power-charged deathbound. The dog growled as he called on Cerberus again to use Ajudan.
Way to go, Koro-chan!
Hamuko smirked at the red-eyed beast.
In the face of disaster lies opportunity for renewal.
Nyx avatar brushed aside the flames.
I know you're watching me. Chidori!
Junpei cried as he summoned his persona to charge into their enemy.
It looks like it's mind-charging a Megadola spell.
Fuka warned them.
Then we'll use a Megadola spell of our own.
Minato stated as he and Hamuko summoned Itties. The team shielded themselves as both explosions knocked everyone down. Hamuko threw a Soma into the air as they finally cleared the 13 arcana.
Is everyone alright?
She called out.
For the most part, yeah.
Yukari panted.
Where's Nyx avatar?
Minato looked around the battlefield for their enemy.
Did we defeat it?
He paused as he sensed the familiar presence rise behind him. The swordsman slowly turned around and brought his sword up defensively.
The moment man devoured the fruit of knowledge, he sealed his fate.
Nyx avatar stated once again.
Entrusting his future to the cards, man clings to a dim hope. Yet, the arcana is the means by which all is revealed.
All of the previous 13 arcana appeared in the air and circled the winged figure.
Beyond the beaten path lies the absolute end. It matters not who you are.
Nyx avatar shook its head.
Death awaits you.
The cards combined and the twins tensed up as the death arcana flashed before their enemy.
I sense death.
Fuka cried out to the rest of the team.
Nyx's true arcana is death.
Junpei felt his knees turn into jelly.
See, can we really face it? We've come this far.
Mitsuru frowned.
We must.
Everybody brought their weapons up but was too petrified to move. Looking over to their leaders, they noticed the twins were violently shaking. A cold dread struck through them as they knew that if their 2 wild cards gave up now, all would be lost. However, after a moment of silence, the twins began chuckling.
You're looking forward to this, aren't you, Anators?
Hamuko felt the persona inside of her stir as it resonated with their adversary. She cast her red eyes towards her brother as they shared a smirk.
How exhilarating.
Minato breathed.
Finally, An enemy we can let loose on.
His blue eyes fiercely burned in anticipation and determination.
Hamuko, Thanatos, let's do this.
He roared as he allowed the Persona's violent nature to overtake him.
Persona!
The twins cried out for the Reaper that had always resided within them. Thanatos roared as it cast Morning Star. All of Sea smirked as it was just like their leaders to charge forth without reservation. They all followed suit and called for all of their Personas.
Save some of the action for us.
Akihiko grinned as he sent Caesar forward.
It's resistant to all types of attacks except Almighty.
Fuka informed them.
But if you keep attacking it, I'm sure we can win.
The Nyx avatar folded its wings to protect itself from their onslaught of spells.
You cannot avoid death.
It shook its head.
To live is to die. They are one and the same. You're wrong.
Hamuko cried out.
For them to be the same, they would have to be reflexive. And we know for a fact that dying isn't living.
Minato declared.
Much like time.
He and Thanatos slashed at Nyx avatar.
Life is precious. And we'll fight for it with our lives.
Hamuko jammed the blade of her neck hinata into the thick black wings of their opponent. With all of Sea surrounding it, Nyx avatar decided it had enough of their useless struggling. It forcefully unfurled its wings, throwing them back. It rose into the air and cast a spell before folding its wings over its body again. Fuka frowned as their enemy was encased behind a strange barrier. As the twins were the first to get up, they started to charge towards Nyx avatar again with Thanatos.
Doubly wait.
Fuka called out to them.
Something's strange about Nyx. I have a bad feeling about this. It's definitely up to something. Then shouldn't we attack?
Minato asked her.
No, don't. Have everyone halt their attacks. It's too dangerous right now,
she told him. Thanatos roared in complaint, but Hamuko quickly reined him in.
Not now. Thanatos, when it's time, we'll let you go all out. For now, we need to focus on our defenses.
Minato reached into his pocket and threw up another Somer.
How's everyone holding up? We should be good for another round.
Yukari nodded to him.
What's the status with Nyx avatar? Fuka-san?
Ken asked.
I think it's preparing an attack. It seems more powerful than anything we've seen so far, so don't let your guard down.
Fuka tensed up.
It's coming. You heard her.
Hamuko nodded to the team.
Guards up.
Nyx avatar slowly revealed itself to them.
Let us finish this.
It boldly stated as he extended a hand towards them.
It is the path of your choosing.
The team cried out in pain as pillars of dark energy erupted from the ground, tossing them in the air. Not even Juno's protective bubble was able to block against it as Fuka collapsed to the ground.
Fuka.
Minato turned towards her but winced as Nyx avatar grabbed him and Hamuko.
I stayed shit.
The blue-eyed boy dropped his evoker as he was lifted up from the ground. He scanned around for something, anything to use as a weapon before he noticed his headphones threatening to fall off his person. My headphones. He quickly caught them before an idea suddenly came to him. Fuka?
Oracle. Use Oracle. Fuka. What?
The teal-haired girl stared at him in disbelief.
What? Invoke Oracle.
Hamuko yelled at their navigator. She screamed in pain as their enemy squeezed her.
Please. Without his evoker, we can't summon Thanatos. Fuka-chan.
Minato struggled against Nyx avatar.
Fuka.
He managed to force a confident smirk onto his face.
As your harbor of courage, I believe in your support skills. Cast Oracle.
His eyes widened as he sensed a Megadola coming up.
Nah.
He screamed with the last of his strength.
Minato-kun. Hamuko-chan.
The teal-haired girl winced as the twins took the spell head-on before being thrown into the rest of the down team. Fuka focused on Juno's power and prayed Oracle's effects would arrive in time and actually be of some use to them. All of the pressure was on her to turn the tide of battle, but it didn't help that Nyx's avatar began assaulting the entire battlefield with various elemental spells. It was difficult to watch all of her friends get ravaged by the attacks while she was safe in Juno's protective bubble.
Everyone. Oh, Oracle, standing by. Gee, damn it.
Junpei cried out as he was hit by the Margaridine spell. Koromaru whimpered as electricity rained down over the team. Aigis and Yukari collapsed to the ground when they were struck by their weaknesses. Ken and Akihiko tried to cast a healing spell, but they winced as ice exploded out of the ground. Finally, fire ravaged the field, trapping Mitsuru in a ring of flames. The Emperor screamed as Artemisia's ice spells did nothing against the intense heat. Fuka gasped as the twins were nowhere to be found in the mess.
Everyone. Please. Get up.
She tensed up though when Nyx's avatar towered over her.
The time has come.
It told her as it prepared an attack.
And Megadola.
Fuka trembled as the winged figure's attack threatened to break Juno's barrier.
Ah!
Nyx's avatar frowned as her persona seemed sturdier than appearances would let on. It quickly cast Mind Charge before readying another Megadola spell.
All shall perish.
The teal-haired girl clenched her fists as she sensed Juno was finally ready.
Invoking Oracle.
She cried out as she prepared for the worst. Nyx's avatar's charged-up spell broke through her persona, and Fuka let out a scream as she was caught in the explosion. She paused though as she sensed someone protectively catch her and shield her from the brunt of the blast. She opened her eyes to see Minato firing his evoker.
Meteorahan.
He cried out as Cathach waved her arm and surrounded them in a healing light.
Are you okay, Fuka?
He looked down at his girlfriend in concern.
Why, you're safe.
She happily smiled at him.
Thanks to you and your oracle.
He nodded as he gently set her down.
I knew you could do it, Fuka.
He told her as he fiddled with his headphones.
I was more worried I wouldn't make it to you in time.
Fuka shook her head at him as she reached a hand up to her locket.
I believed in you all along, too,
she told him. Minato smiled at her before getting back up. He turned his head back towards the fight and noticed Sandalphon was distracting Nyx's avatar.
All right, ready on our end.
He called out to his sister.
Everyone else is up too.
Amuko smirked as she quickly recalled her persona.
Evokers at the ready.
She directed the rest of the team. Minato smirked as he pointed his evoker to his head.
One last scan, Fuka. Please.
Fuka nodded in determination as she summoned her persona.
Juno.
The navigator quickly scanned Nyx's avatar.
Another mind-charged Megadola. Vishnu.
Minato roared as he started for his sister's side.
Anata.
Hamuko followed suit.
Fusion spell, Infinity.
The entire team watched as the offensive spell glanced off them. Fuka quickly called out to the fighters.
It's completely open now.
Junpei raised his evoker into the air.
Trismegistus.
His red and gold persona sliced through the Nyx avatar.
Artemisia.
Mitsuru's red eyes flashed as she executed the enemy with a mind-charged bufadine. Akihiko grit his teeth as he cast the Audine.
Caesar. Isis.
Yukari resolutely cried out as her persona cast Garadine.
Pallas Athena.
Aigis smiled when God's hand found the winged figure. Taking advantage of the enemy's condition, Ken quickly used Vile Assault.
Colonemi.
Koromaru howled as Cerberus unleashed an intense blast of fire against Nyx's avatar. Minato spun his evoker expertly.
Ready, Hamuko. You bet.
Hamuko smirked. The twins pointed their evokers at each other's temples and pulled the trigger.
Thanatos.
The bloodthirsty persona roared as he emerged before them.
Brave Blade.
Thanatos eagerly rushed forward and ran his blade through the embodiment of death. The entire team watched silently as the great figure slumped over. The twins recalled their persona, causing Nyx's avatar to fall backwards to ground. It motionlessly lay there as all the seas tentatively gathered around the fallen enemy. Mitsuru was the first to break the palpable silence.
"Did we do it?"
she asked. She flinched back when Nyx's avatar began to stir. The black-winged harbor of destruction slowly sat up and levitated into the sky. It shook its head at them.
"Such a pity,"
it said with its voice lightened in regret.
"You understand fate, yet you still fight against it with all of your will. If more people were like you, then perhaps the fall could have been prevented.
It sighed.
But it's too late now."
It continued to rise into the air, and the brightly glowing moon behind it opened up to reveal a large entity within. Fuka's eyes widened.
"The moon? What is that?"
Yukari knit her eyebrows together. Nyx's avatar turned towards the large celestial body as it sent a beam of light into the moon. Akihiko shook his head in disbelief.
This can't be real,"
he cried.
"June."
Agus began to tremble in fear.
"Soon it will descend upon us. Upon us all."
Minato frowned as the usually silent dark hour suddenly brimmed with idle chatter.
Is something going on?"
He peered over the edge of the roof and watched as the various coffins scattered here and there reverted into people.
What? The people. This isn't good."
Hamuko frowned to herself as the voices of everyone in the world reached them.
"The world's starting to panic."
The entire team continued gaze up in fear before they noticed Takao stumbling up the stairs behind them. They mildly looked to him in surprise as the shirtless boy smiled to the moon.
"At last,"
he breathlessly stated before dropping to the floor on his back. He laughed maniacally as his wish was coming true after all. Ken glared at him.
"You..."
Takaya shook his head at Seize and chuckled.
"Vexing, isn't it? The look on your face is priceless." "Shut up,"
Akihiko snapped at him.
"But..."
Yukari worriedly looked towards their leaders.
"What are we gonna do?"
Minato scowled to himself.
"What else can we do?"
he asked. Hamuko shook her head at her brother.
"We can't give up now. We've come this far,"
she pointed out. Fuka tensed as she sensed a change in the atmosphere.
"Something's coming,"
she screamed as the moon began to shoot out a wave of energy, crushing the party. Minato winced as everyone collapsed to their knees.
"What is this?"
Ken asked. Yukari tried to shake it off.
"This is... nothing."
Takaya frowned at the crazy teens.
"How ridiculous. Are you out of your mind? Look who's talking."
Junpei shot him a dirty look.
"Death is imminent."
Takaya sighed as he was tired of repeating himself to the moronic fools.
"Surely you know this. What do you hope to accomplish now?"
He smiled as he continued to stare at the beautiful moon.
"I wanted to see the end with my own eyes, Jane."
His eyelids grew heavy and he soon passed out. Agus shook her head as she tried to fight against the pressure.
"I will never give up. Never."
Nyx's avatar shook its head at their futile struggle.
"Why resist that which is inevitable? You will only suffer."
It sadly stated as it stared at Hamuko and Minato.
"Damn it."
Junpei clenched his teeth.
"I won't back down. I've made up my mind."
Hikari gasped.
"I'll fight to the end."
Junpei let out a determined cry as they all managed to get back to their feet. The moon sent out another wave though to deter them, and Ken was the first to collapse. Akihiko turned towards the downed brunette.
"Ken."
He frowned as Agus and Junpei were the next to fall. Junpei pounded the ground with his fist.
Son of a...
Mitsuru shook her head as she tried to remain standing.
We've come this far. I refuse to submit.
Another shockwave knocked both seniors to the ground. Hikari felt her knees go weak and soon her legs gave out.
Minato, Hamuko, Fuka.
She called out to the determined twins and navigator.
You three had better not give up. W wouldn't dream of it.
Minato grunted.
F Fuka. See, can you summon Jeju now?
Fuka shook her head.
Sorry. See, can you try?
Hamuko winced as another wave hit them. She let out a weak laugh as she collapsed.
I'm Minato. I think I can see. Change. It's Hamuko. Stay with me.
Minato tried to reach out for his sister, but he began retching. His vision blurred and he let out a frustrated yell.
D down. I see can. BB at MIL limit.
Before he knew it, he was on the ground.
F Fuka. I'm sorry.
His eyes slowly closed as his consciousness slipped away.
Minato-kun.
Fuka collapsed to her knee.
And now?
She frowned to herself as she put her hands together around her locket. Juno. Please. I don't know if this will help, but please. We have to do something. Everybody fought their hardest and I want to support them. She frowned as her persona augmented her senses, amplifying the panicked frenzy of the people below. Fuka groaned as the pressure increased, but she refused to give in to the dark depths of despair. Courage. I need to believe in the courage everyone has given me. It's what connects us as a team. Her brown eyes widened as she remembered Minato's conversation with her from the night before. That's it. Natsuki ran through the dark, bloody streets of Iwatodai and spotted the stairs leading up to Neganaki Shrine. If there was one place that would be safe, it would definitely be the shrine. The down girl looked around as she noticed she wasn't the only one with that thought. She spotted a few of her former schoolmates gathered by the jungle gym and quickly approached them. Kenji shook his head as he frowned up at the tower sticking up into the sky from Tatsumi Port Island.
But that's our school, isn't it?
He asked Ryo.
That's just not right.
Hidetoshi crossed his arms.
To think that something like this would happen to Gekiken.
Natsuki tried to get their attention.
Does anyone know what's going on?
She asked.
Yuko
blinked at her.
Oh. You're Natsuki-san from... Tui? Echoed his class, right? I was in Tui.
She nodded.
Before I transferred.
She frowned at the familiar eerie green atmosphere.
Wait. You're all friends with Minato-san and his sister. If you're looking for Fuka-san, she's not here.
Ryo shook her head. The volleyball player frowned as she searched for Hamuko.
None of the members of Iwatodai Dharma. Then just where are they?
Kaz yelled.
D-damn. If Minato were here, he'd definitely know what to do.
Natsuki shook her head at the former track star.
Okay, we gotta stay calm,
she said in determination. She frowned as she thought of her best friend.
Just like Fuka was when she saved me.
Images of the teal-haired girl holding a fake gun to her head flashed in her mind. That's right. Your dorm's club. You guys are fighting, right? Fuka. She clenched her fists and put on a brave smile.
I'm the one who said we'll always be connected. That's how I know you're still hanging in there, Fuka. Just what are you talking about?
Kenji frowned at her.
Iwatodai Dome.
Natsuki looked up at him.
Fuka's club. They're doing something about this right now,
she exclaimed.
I'm sure of it. There's no way.
Hidetoshi shook his head before glancing towards their school.
The student council president, Hamuko. Minato. There's no way that.
He frowned to himself as he didn't want to doubt his friends.
They are fighting. What the hell do they think they'll accomplish against the moon?
Kaz shouted.
Damn it. Pull yourself together, Kaz.
Hiko scolded him. After a while, the track team manager faltered a bit.
They're doing their best, right?
Natsuki hoped so.
I'm scared as hell right now.
She admitted aloud.
But I won't give up.
Her exclamation caused everyone to look at her strangely.
I still believe in Furuka and the others.
She turned towards the tower and shouted as loudly as she could.
You're still fighting to save us. Right, Furuka.
Ryo smiled at the girl's tenacity and was reminded of Hamuko.
Gee, that's right.
The volleyball player clenched her fists and stood at Natsuki's side.
Hamuko.
She called out.
You're out there, right? You helped remind me that I'm not alone. You're not alone either. I'm right here too. We're teammates after all, and teammates support each other. Just what are you doing?
Kenji sighed at her. The athlete glared at him.
I'm trying to help my important friend. Minato-san's there too. Shouldn't you do the same?
Kaz and Yuko looked at each other with a nod. The recovering runner let out a determined roar.
Dude, you'd better not lose. You gotta use your guts. You were always there for us, Minato.
Yuko exclaimed.
And I told you that we'd support you too if you ever needed it.
Kenji smirked as he remembered the times he hung out with the blue-haired junior.
You're my best friend, Minato. That still hasn't changed. Come on. When this is all over, I'll treat you to some ramen from Hidekire's. Hamuko.
Hidetoshi clenched his fists.
Minato. I'll stand by you both to the very end. Furuka.
Natsuki called out to Tartarus once more, hoping their voices could reach their ever-precious friends. The girl paused as she sensed a familiar presence, one she recalled protecting her long ago in a wide lobby of their skull-turned labyrinth.
Natsuki-chan.
A weak but happy voice cut into her mind. The former bully's eyes widened as she brightly smiled.
Furuka. Then,
Minato frowned as a familiar voice called out to him.
Ni-san.
The blue-haired boy opened his eyes when he felt someone rocking him awake.
Minato. Get up.
Hamuko stared at him with glowing red eyes.
Hamuko.
The exhausted junior got up from the ground.
What happened? Are we?
He looked around and noticed he was in the velvet room. Igor shook his head at his guests.
There's no need to worry.
He reassured them.
This isn't afterlife. You're still alive.
Minato let out a sigh of relief, but he immediately tensed up.
Wait, but what about Nyx?
Hamuko frowned at Igor.
We did all we could, but things still ended up like this.
The long-nosed man nodded to them in understanding.
Do you remember what I once told you?
The twins blinked at him in confusion.
How the strength of your social links will determine your potential. That's right.
Minato nodded.
You gave us the cipher's mask as proof.
He blinked as said mask emerged from within them. He quickly tried to reach out for it, but paused as something in his mind stirred.
What is that sound?
He focused his senses and vaguely felt someone calling out for them. Igor held a hand up to his ear.
Listen.
He directed the twins.
Can you hear the many voices? Each one's power is limited. Yet, they all reach out to you. Can you feel them?
Minato struggled to sift through the noise.
I'm not sure. Close your eyes and listen carefully.
Igor directed the twins.
Their voices may be faint, but certainly you hear them.
When both teens closed their eyes, Igor held up his arms and summoned a large mass of energy.
Perhaps a little assistance.
Hamuko flinched as the power built up within her, but brightened as the voices grew louder and clearer.
Yes, I sense them.
She frowned.
But how?
Minato smirked as a familiar persona connected him to their friends.
Juno.
He opened his eyes and slipped on his headphones, improving the quality of the voices trying to call out to them.
Juno's connecting us together.
He wiped up the tears that began to form in his eyes.
Fuka. It's not just her.
Hamuko placed a hand over her heart.
Everyone's powerful emotions.
She lifted her head in determination.
They're right here with us.
She smiled as Sayori's kind smile appeared before her.
I know in my heart, Hamuko-chan.
Sayori nodded to the brunette.
You're doing all you can right now, aren't you? You always helped me out. Now it's my turn to help you. Hamuko.
Rio wore a serious frown as she appeared too.
Things are going crazy right now, and I'm scared. But I'll be alright.
The volleyball player put on a brave smile.
I can feel from here that you're doing your best. You have to believe that you're not alone either. That's right.
Kenji agreed as he called out for his best friend.
I'll always have your back, Minato. All I can do right now is pray that, whatever it is, Lan, I know you can do it.
Kaz let out a wry laugh.
Something crazy's going on here. But I know you're out there doing all you can, Minato. So, I won't lose my cool, either. You taught me that. Because you gave me hope.
Chihiro clenched her fists.
I'll be alright. So please, hang in there.
A static-filled image appeared next for the blue hateful, and he vaguely made out Toriyami's silhouette.
Oh God, this can't be happening.
The woman shook her head.
I wish I could talk to him and calm myself down. I don't even know what he looks like, but I hope he's okay. He has to be. I can feel it.
Kiseki smirked.
Minato-kun, I know you're trying to stay focused. You were there when I needed you. I hope I can do the same. Hey, Minato.
Yuko tried to smile.
Can you believe what's going on? I know you must be doing everything you can, so I will too.
Mamoru smirked as best as he could.
I'll take on any challenge that comes my way, without complaining about it. You taught me that, Minato. I bet you're fighting right now too, huh? You saved me, Minato.
Nozomi rubbed his eyes.
I was so blind before. I'm sure you've got things under control, right? You always do.
Hamuko smiled as she counted up the many friends her brother was able to make for himself this year, but there were still many more they made together as she made out Hidetoshi's voice calling out to them.
I know you're facing a difficult task.
He smirked.
But I truly believe that you both can overcome any obstacle. Something frightful's going on.
Bonkichi mused.
But we won't give up.
Mitsuko nodded her head in agreement with her husband.
That's right, dear. Hamuko-chan and Minato-chan wouldn't want us to lose hope.
Mika bravely smiled as she gazed up at them.
Everyone else is scared, but not me. You both showed me how to be tough. I won't give up. Hamuko-sama. Minato-sama. How are you doing?
Bebe frowned as he missed his dear friends.
I hope you are okay. I am here for you. Like you both were there for me. What on earth made me think of you at a time like this?
Tanaka frowned to himself. After a while, he crossed his arms and smirked.
Well, I suppose you both did teach me a thing or two about loyalty.
Mitatsu laughed as boastfully as he could.
You two must be fighting a good fight right about now. Well, you taught me that running away never solves nothing. So I'm here for ya, kids.
Ekinari lifted his resolute gaze as he sensed his two friends facing death.
I know I'm not the only one who's suffered. The both of you have endured a lot, too. But you can't just give up. You taught me that.
Igor's smile grew as the twins' resolve strengthened.
Can you hear them? These are the voices of hope that wish to help you. Separately, they are weak. But together, they will bring about a great change in you. Now is the time to draw on the true strength of the bonds you have forged.
The cipher's mask glowed as if responding to Igor's words. The twins clenched their fists and grabbed the cipher's mask together.
Everyone.
Minato muttered.
Thank you so much.
Hamuko cried. They didn't flinch as Thanatos and two other personas suddenly emerged behind them, casting a look over their shoulders. The twins smirked as both Orpheus returned. The Reaper persona let out a roar before combining with the twin personas to form a brilliantly shining star. The twins channeled the resultant light into the cipher's mask and watched as a new card appeared before them. Igor stared at it in amazement.
I never dreamed of seeing that card with my own eyes.
He carefully caught the blank card, then smirked at his invaluable guests.
This is indeed a surprise. Behold the last power you and I shall unveil.
The master of the Velvet Room raised the white card into the air as he helped to unlock their final personas.
It is the power to bring about a new beginning, or the ultimate end. It may be possible now, with this newfound power. You may be able to defeat the one who cannot be defeated.
He returned the blank card to the twins, and they did not hesitate in accepting it.
What you have in your hands is the power of the universe.
Hamuko flinched as a new persona emerged before her. It resembled Orpheus, but its hair was short, much like Minato's Orpheus, and its body was crimson red.
Thou art and thou.
The persona nodded to her.
From the seas of thy souls I cometh. I am Morpheus Telos, the reborn master of strings and wielder endless possibilities. From the vast nothingness of the universe, I will give you the miracle you seek and have it echo for all eternity.
Minato faced his new persona that also resembled Orpheus, but its left arm was chained to the same coffin lids Thanatos used to carry. This new persona reeked of both life and death, yet it stood tall before the blue-haired boy.
Thou art I and thou.
It spoke in a dignified manner.
From the seas of thy souls I cometh. I am Messiah, the ultimate Savior. Using your brilliant light, I will shine your hope onto the universe for all to see.
Both personas returned to the cipher's mask, shattering it in two. Both portions of the mask returned to the twins, and Hamuko calmly studied hers. The right half of the colorless visor reflected her face before she made out Orpheus Telos' image staring back at her. Looking over to her brother, she noticed his half-reflected Messiah's face. She reached a hand towards Minato and gave him a smile as they felt the elevator slow to a stop. Minato smiled back at her before they both turned towards Igor. The long-nosed man bowed his head to them out of respect.
Nothing is outside the realm of possibility for you now,
he told them. The metal grating behind them screeched as it slowly opened, and they turned to face the exit. Elizabeth and Theodore smiled at them and bowed.
We have reached your destination,
they stated. The twins stared at the bright light awaiting them, but their faces were serene. Higo smiled as he could feel the strange mixture of emotions within them.
It seems that, in addition to death, Fate has also dealt you the wild card. You must accept your destiny.
He urged them on.
Our contracts have been fulfilled. I have completed my role as well. You were truly remarkable guests.
The twins tightly held onto each other's hands as they both stepped out of the Velvet Room. Once more, they found themselves on top of Tartarus, underneath the moon that was continuously releasing intense waves of power in the hopes of crushing them. They didn't know when they had gotten out, but the two stood tall as they faced their fate. Their friends looked up at the twins in surprise. Yukari shook her head as she tried to get back up too.
How? Can you move?
she asked the leaders. Fuka let out an exhausted gasp as she couldn't support Juno any longer. The navigator finally collapsed to the ground and looked up at them.
And Minato-kun. Hamuko-chan.
Minato gave her a very apologetic but extremely grateful smile.
We'll always be connected, Fuka.
He quietly told the navigator with a nod. Hamuko tried to give her friend a bright smirk as the two of them began rising towards the moon.
Thank you for always supporting us. W.A.
Fuka's brown eyes widened as she noticed the strange masks in their hands. Even without Juno, she could sense the power contained within them.
Minato-kun. Hamuko-chan.
Akihiko watched as the twins continued to rise into the air.
What the?
His gray eyes filled with concern.
Hamuko. Minato. Are you going to go alone?
Agi shook her head as she tried to get up.
No, don't go.
She cried out to them when she found she still couldn't move. Everyone struggled to rise, but found it impossible. Yukari began to shake.
No way. Why?
She pushed against the floor with all her might.
What are they doing? Damn it.
Junpei clenched his fists.
Why the hell can't we stand up?
Fuka tried once more to call out to the stubborn twins.
Why, after all we've been through.
She could feel tears falling down her face.
Stop. Don't do this. Come back.
Junpei glared at his unresponsive body.
Damn it. We said, wait.
Yukari screamed, but it was too late as the twins were already gone.
Come back, you idiots.
Upon entering the moon, Minato stared at the strange egg-shaped object in the center of the cavern as Hamuko let go of his hand. The brunette glared at the troublesome thing.
So that must be the real Nyx.
She smirked.
Let's finish this.
Minato nodded as he lifted his mask up to his face. Before he got a chance to put it on, though, the orb unleashed a powerful attack. Not expecting Nyx to retaliate, the twins dropped the masks as they were both knocked down.
Hamuko. Minato.
Hamuko winced as she sensed the attack should have outright killed them. The fact that it didn't mean that their luck hadn't quite run dry just yet. No. It's not luck. We still have our friends behind us.
Everyone.
She struggled to stand up.
Please give us strength.
As if responding to her wish, Ken's voice began to echo through the cavern.
There's nothing we can do.
The boy cried out in panic.
Don't give up.
Akihiko scolded him.
We have to believe in them. Give them strength.
Mitsuru boldly called out to seize.
Take my life if you must.
Hamuko and Minato smiled as they suddenly found the strength to get back up. In an attempt to finish them off, Nyx bombarded the siblings again with death. The twins dodged out of the way this time and watched as the Cypher's mask was tossed into the air by the explosion.
Hamuko, we need to grab them.
Minato called out to his sister.
Wait.
Hamuko frantically reached for both pieces.
Yeah.
Yukari smirked as she agreed with Mitsuru.
I'm willing to risk mine too. They're going to face it all by themselves.
Fuka worriedly frowned.
No, they're not alone.
Junpei adamantly shook his head.
I won't let them die.
Hamuko felt another burst of power fill her as she managed to snatch both halves of the Cypher's mask out of the air.
Minato, I've got them. Watch out.
Her brother cried as Nyx tried to use death again. He protectively shielded Hamuko as best as he could, but noticed the attack didn't harm them at all. The brunette quickly tossed him a mask, and the siblings smiled to each other as they quickly got into position for one last fusion spell. Koromaru growled and barked, hoping his voice would reach them. Aigis called out too.
I won't allow this world to be destroyed.
Hamuko lifted the left half of the mask to her face but paused as she heard a familiar gruff voice whisper in her ear.
All right, let's do this. Jinji-kun.
The brunette smiled as tears streamed down her face. She didn't bother wiping them off before raising her right pointer finger into the air. After securing the mask onto his own face, Minato lifted his left arm up and grabbed his sister's hand.
Everyone's with us.
He took a deep breath.
Are you ready, Hamuko? All with Minato.
She nodded as she focused on calling their most powerful personas.
Persona!
The two then called out together, summoning Messiah and Orpheus Telos behind them.
Final fusion spell.
Their eyes flashed with determination as power continued to swell within them.
Great Seal.
A bright light erupted within the cramped space, shattering the cipher's mask, but neither twin flinched. They serenely smiled to themselves as the radiance of the spell engulfed them.
Everyone.
Hamuko's red eyes reflected the shining white light.
Thank you. We're sorry.
Minato's blue eyes gleamed in the darkness that soon followed. Yukari flinched as everything went white. After a while, everything turned black. She opened her eyes and blinked when it looked like she was floating in space.
Where are we?
She asked with a frown.
Did Nyx create this place?
Mitsuru looked around.
Or was it them? Are they all right, Fuka?
Akihiko worriedly asked.
What happened? Everything was engulfed by a bright light.
The navigator began to shake as she desperately searched for their leaders.
I don't sense them.
Ken let out a shaky breath.
Don't tell me they... Ah!
Junpei angrily cried out.
That can't be. Try again. They can't be the only one.
He turned towards Fuka and saw the girl was crying as she shook her head at him.
You gotta be kidding me. Damn it.
Akihiko clenched his fists.
Not again.
Mitsuru shook her head at him.
We all decided to put our lives on the line.
She stated.
In fact, we came here knowing we would most likely die. How could I be so powerless?
Aigis asked herself.
This is what I was trying to prevent. You're there, aren't you?
Yukari called out into the expansive darkness.
I know you are. I refuse to believe that you're both gone. As for me, I know you can hear me.
Aigis quickly joined her.
We're here. Please let us hear your voices. Don't worry.
A familiar voice told them. It was remarkably similar to Minato's voice, but there was still no sign of either twin at all. Akihiko frowned as that meant it could only belong to a certain raven-haired shadow.
That voice. I will sleep once again.
The voice told them.
Normal days will return to this universe, for you. And for them.
Everyone became relieved at that.
They found the answer to life's greatest question.
The voice continued.
It's just happened a bit sooner than it will for the rest of you. Life's greatest question.
Aigis mused.
Aigis.
The voice called out to her.
You'll find the answer one day as well. You, too, are a precious living thing. You just need to realize how the bonds of friendship have changed you. The dark hour will soon vanish from this world. All will truly be relinquished from its dominion, and the legacy of life will continue. Congratulations. You have the miracle you sought. We shall meet again someday.
All of Seas flinched as they suddenly reappeared at the foot of Tartarus. Yukari frowned as she was trying to gather her bearings.
Where is this? Ah.
She blinked when she saw the familiar doors leading into the tower.
The entrance to Tartarus. When did we?
Her brown eyes widened.
Wait, look.
The bells chimed as the tower suddenly broke apart, vanishing into the night. Junpei shook his head in disbelief.
Ichi, Check out Tartarus. It's disintegrating,
Mitsuru stated.
disappearing into the sky.
She and Akihiko shared a small smile as they finally accomplished the goal of ending the dark hour.
At last,
Yukari sighed in relief.
the school's finally gonna be back to normal. It's over.
Mitsuru nodded. Aigis looked around and spotted two figures approaching them from what used to be Tartarus's lobby.
Ah,
She cried out.
look. Minato-san. They came back.
Yukari smiled as the entire team ran towards them. Hamuko fell into Aigis when she found she no longer had the strength to stand.
Everyone.
The red-eyed brunette smiled as she took in their relieved faces.
We're back.
She weakly laughed as Aigis set her down on the ground.
Minato-kun.
Fuka gently did the same with the blue-haired boy, letting him rest his head against her.
Thank goodness.
She suddenly began crying into his chest. Minato lifted his hand and placed it on the girl's head.
It's all right, Fuka. We're here now. You sure took your time.
Junpei smirked at the two.
You were really stringing us along there.
He let out a shaky laugh and pulled his cap down over his eyes.
Honestly.
His voice cracked.
You both scared me.
Hen frowned.
I thought we might not ever see you again. Guys, come on.
Akihiko rubbed his eyes.
This isn't something we should be crying about.
Ken tried to blink back his tears but failed.
Look who's talking.
He laughed and sobbed at the same time.
Finally.
Mitsuru's lip quivered as she tried to smile.
The gang's all here.
Koromaru happily barked as he noticed water streaming down Aigis' face. The robot smiled down at the twins.
Hamuko-san. Minato-san. How?
She reached a hand up to her wet cheeks. She didn't really understand it herself, but the twins gently smiled for her.
Uh-oh. They won't stop. This is most unusual.
The blonde girl tried to laugh. Hamuko did her best to wipe up some of the robot's tears before looking over to her brother. Minato ran his hand through Fuka's hair, hoping to calm her down as the navigator continued to cry into him. The older brother looked towards Hamuko too, and both shared a peaceful smile with each other. They looked up at the full moon and took in their victory. By an unexpected miracle, the twins had saved the world from the fall. Peace will finally be restored to the city they love, and the people living there would be able to resume their busy lives. Even if no one remembered anything about the extraordinary turn of events, the twins were completely okay with that. They had secured a future for their friends after all. Even as the seasons changed, the twins would never forget the night they embraced the universe and their fate. End of chapter.